Vice President Trump's plane flees Ben Gurion Airport after a Yemeni missile threat, a looming danger over Iran. Something serious and unexpected happened today, an event that opens up a lot of questions about Trump's recent visit to the Gulf, why he sidelined Netanyahu, and why he skipped visiting Israel altogether. There are tons of deep political analyses out there, but sometimes the truth is surprisingly simple. Here's what went down. Trump's Vice President, JD Vance, was supposed to visit Israel today. He had just wrapped up a trip to Rome where he met with Zelensky, and Israel was next on his list. Everything seemed fine until, last minute, the trip was abruptly canceled. The official reason? Priorities had changed and Israel was no longer a top priority.
At the exact same time, American military cargo planes, C-17s, started landing at Ben Gurion Airport. These are heavy-duty transport planes, the kind you don't just land at a civilian airport unless there's a serious security or logistical operation involved, especially when high-ranking officials are visiting. These are the same types of planes used to secure Trump's past visits to the UAE.
Then suddenly, boom! Israel tells the American planes, leave, now. No unloading, no operations. Just turn around and go. And they did. Vance's visit was completely scrapped. So, does this mean there's tension between the US and Israel? Not really.
The real issue here is Yemen. Yemen played a card that Israel once tried to play on others. Here's what happened. Israel had previously warned Yemen's Hodeidah port and other ports, threatening strikes. After Trump left the region, Israel even launched a few very light attacks. Nothing major, minimal damage. These places have been bombed before. Even Sana'a Airport, which was supposedly a target, stayed operational. But Yemen responded in a completely unexpected way.
Just as JD Vance was supposed to arrive, Yemen issued its own warning. Ben Gurion Airport will be targeted in the coming hours. We're concerned for the safety of foreigners, tourists, and civilians. It was a very open public threat. Expect 2 or 3 missiles in the next few hours. This came only a day after a Yemeni missile flew over Israel, triggering all of Israel's missile defense systems. They launched 4 very expensive interceptor missiles, and debris fell on populated areas.
This whole scare likely forced the US to cancel Vance's trip and call off the C-17 landing at Ben Gurion. Now, some might ask, why not just land at a military base like Nevatim instead? Well, it's possible, but it makes logistics way more complicated. Getting from Nevatim to Jerusalem overland or even by helicopter isn't easy. Helicopters can crash. The threat is real. Ben Gurion is the main civilian airport, but once you start using it for military gear, it's no longer just a civilian facility when you're expecting a VIP visit, and there's an open threat to bomb that exact airport. Do you go through with the visit? Of course not. Yemen basically imposed a no-fly zone on Israel, and it's working. No one wants to fly into a country where missiles might rain down.
That brings us to the bigger political picture. You can spend days analyzing news reports and expert articles. The New York Times says Netanyahu is being sidelined. Reuters claims Israel crushed the Iranian resistance axis, and now we're in a new age of Sunni dominance in the Middle East. They say Trump has shifted his support to the Gulf and the Sunni bloc, leaving Netanyahu behind. Big words, complex theories. But maybe the answer is simple. Trump didn't visit Israel because Israel is under fire from Yemen. There's no agreement or guarantee that Yemen won't target Israel during his visit. Trump stayed safely in the Gulf while missiles were aimed at Israel. Just imagine if he had gone. Sirens going off as he lands. What would he do? You can't risk a situation where a missile hits his plane or the runway.
The US is already scaling back in the region. B-2 bombers have vanished. Diego Garcia is being downsized. Even North Korean refueling planes are heading toward Japan and Qatar now. So if you're Yemen, and you launch a missile at Israel while Vance or Trump is landing, and air raid sirens go off, what happens? They turn around and flee. And that's exactly what happened. That's probably the real reason Trump skipped Israel. It's not about snubbing Netanyahu or some big Sunni axis theory. It's a basic security issue. Yemen is hitting Israel, and no high-level American official is willing to walk into that.
All this drama, it's intense. Readers, look, it's simple. He didn't go because Israel's getting bombed. And here's the thing, JD Vance was already en route, then he backed out. His plane literally turned around. Why? Because Yemen's warning was taken seriously. Not just by Israel, but by everyone. They treated it like a legit threat because Yemen has actually been targeting airports. Got it? So when they say, we're launching missiles in a few hours, it becomes a huge problem. Who's going to visit Israel now? If the top leaders won't, who will? Right now, there's essentially a political no-fly zone over Israel. Even commercial flights are restricted. That's a massive issue.
The tactic Israel tried with Yemen, issuing port warnings, has backfired. The port of Hodeidah is jammed with ships that need to unload, and it's a vital trade hub. It's like Dubai's Jebel Ali port. It's been hit dozens of times. But China can't just ignore this. Yemen's threats are credible. When they say something, missiles usually follow. So yeah, what we're seeing is a real no-fly zone over Israel, and it's going to wear them down, especially if they keep operating in Gaza. Yemen's message is now, attack Gaza today, and we'll hit you harder.
Things in Gaza are tragic. A ground invasion started yesterday and is ongoing, even while negotiations are supposedly happening in Doha.
Barak Ravid says Doha is just for show and that there are secret back-channel talks, but Israeli channels 12 and 13 say there's a potential ceasefire deal.
Hamas would release 10 live hostages and some remains of dead ones in exchange for a 60-day ceasefire. But Netanyahu backed out of the original phased deal.
Now he wants all hostages released at once in the morning and promises not to strike for 60 days, but he could easily strike by afternoon and say, I had intel, or you were planning another October 7 style attack.
Same game as the last ceasefire. Arrogance and manipulation, and nobody calls it out. Germany stays silent.
They want guarantees like Trump should personally announce the deal, or Jake Sullivan should shake hands with Khalil al-Hayya, or JD Vance should do a dance in the side office.
Seriously, it's absurd. The idea is Trump announces a deal, and Israel negotiates with Hamas during the truce for a permanent end to the war, but with zero commitments.
Netanyahu wants two things, Hamas disarmed and its leaders exiled. Again, no commitment. The U.S. would supposedly oversee the process, but it's all nonsense.
They just want the hostages back and to keep the war going. If Hamas doesn't hand over the hostages, they'll keep bombing. That's the reality. There are no real promises, no effective agreements.
They took Eden Iskandar, then immediately targeted Mohammed al-Sanir. Some reports say his body was recovered, others say it's fake news, nothing confirmed. But there were confirmed strikes on Hamas right after Eden's release.
So yeah, it's all about continuing the war. What's the end game? They want to empty Gaza of its population. That's the plan.
Will they rebuild Gaza, remove Hamas, bring in the Palestinian Authority? But they already rejected the PA. Will they bring in Mohammed Dalan from the UAE? Israel rejected him too.
They see this as a once-in-a-lifetime chance to clear out Gaza.
Now, the narrative is that Gulf deals are a threat to U.S. national security.
You're not putting America first anymore, critics say. You're putting the Gulf first. This comes from Axios. Yeah, that Axios, linked to progressive Zionist Democrats. It's a huge issue, especially the massive AI deal with the UAE. Strategically critical. From Trump's view, leaving a vacuum in that region is unacceptable. There's energy, land, and infrastructure. If the US pulls out, China fills the gap. Democrats say, don't let China in. Leave the region weak. Give them scraps. Don't give them real tech. Don't turn them into a regional powerhouse. If they get everything, they become a global hub. That's a security risk. So the more drama there is around these deals, the more likely Netanyahu strikes. Maybe not to cause massive damage, but to stall the UAE deals and trigger a regional crisis. Doing that while tensions rise with Egypt over base leases is dangerous. Libya's already in the mix. If they want long-term pressure, they could turn the next 4 years into chaos. It's risky. Very risky.
And then there's the Yemen wildcard. No one has an answer.
Right now, Yemen is blocking American officials from visiting Israel. It's projecting massive, unchecked influence, and no one's stopping them.
If things escalate more, it'll be a huge problem for both the U.S. and